Mr Chairman, I took a call earlier in this debate, which is actually, with respect to Mr Boscawen, on part one of the Injury Prevention, Rehabilitation and Compensation Amendment Bill. It isn't a general debate on the history of the Labour Party and ACT's view of it. But when I took an earlier call in this debate, Mr Chairman, I said that I wanted to talk about 3 points in part one of this amendment bill. The third one was about the work capacity great leap backwards that the Minister is instigating. And unfortunately, the Minister took a call as I was just about to make a point, which I had hoped he would say, "You're right, we'll change this, we'll make it fair." But because he interrupted me, he didn't get a chance to do that. So perhaps he might. And the point is this. Under the amendment that the Minister is putting through the House under urgency, there will no longer be a requirement through the work capacity assessment procedure to ensure that the job that the person is determined to be able to do is a real job. I started giving examples of real live New Zealanders who, under the old system, which is now being brought back into our society by this amendment bill, people were determined to be fit to be a car park attendant or a lift operator, or in one tragic example, a person was assessed as being able to work for 30 hours a week as a tap dancer. This is not a made-up story, Mr Chairman. I actually really wish it was. I wish it was a made-up story. I wish it was funny. I wish that for that person they hadn't had to have gone through the humiliation not only of being fit to be able to be a tap dancer for 30 hours a week and getting the letter from ACC saying, "Congratulations, you have now been moved to independence," but the humiliation that that person went through when they appeared on the Paul Holmes show to show that with their one leg they were going to be really hard pushed to be a tap dancer. That person had one leg, but because that one leg hadn't been the result of an injury, actually it wasn't classed as being an issue for the assessor. That's the shonky nonsense that Minister, his government and his ACT supporting party are going to bring back into this House. Well, the question is, why would you do that? Why would you do that to good, hard-working, ordinary New Zealanders who happen to have had the misfortune of being injured at work? Why would, not you, Mr Chairman, why would the Minister and his colleagues and his ACT and Māori Party support parties want anyone to have to go through the humiliation of having an assessment for a job that doesn't exist, being told they're fit to be a car park attendant or a lift operator, and then having no income and no job to go to? Being fit to do a job that doesn't exist is no help when you have to go and pay your grocery bill. So, Mr Chairman, I urge the Minister, in the remaining stages of this debate, to just put in a little supplementary order paper so that we don't have to put good, hard-working, injured New Zealanders through that humiliation. Review and appeal by Paul Holmes and John Campbell should be a thing of the past. We should have legislation that is fair and treats injured workers with respect and gives them the support and rehabilitation they deserve to get back to a job and able to support their family. This legislation doesn't do it. It's a disgrace, and it hurts people who don't deserve to be hurt by our law. All they've done is been injured. I can't imagine why anyone would want to make their life worse for them. Mr Chairman, the other 2 points I want to talk on in the remaining time, perhaps I'll only have time for one, but is in relation to the clause in Part 1 which repeals Section 31. Section 31 relates to the Ministerial Advisory Panel on Work-Related Gradual Process Disease or Infection, and I'm puzzled to know why the Minister thinks he has enough knowledge, given that it's clear that medical experts internationally look to each other for help, but the Minister thinks for some reason which is of a puzzle to every single person in this, Mr Chairman, which I'm sure is a puzzle to every single person in this Parliament, let alone the public, why the Minister would think that he knows better than every medical expert around the world, because the evolution of understanding about gradual process disease and infection is rapid. And if our legislation isn't based on the best possible advice to the government, then people who are affected at work, who have asbestosis, who have lung cancer, who have hearing loss, who have brain injury because they've been exposed to solvents, may not get the compensation and rehabilitation that they deserve. Well, Mr Chairman, in this area, New Zealand is woefully ignorant, actually, and the establishment of this ministerial advisory panel sought to move us to a place where we could be part of the international debate, where we could look at young men whose brain cells have been mushed by exposure to solvents when they have been doing their apprenticeship as a spray painter. We might be able to stop future young men having that damage occur to their brain cells. But no, Minister knows better. Let their brain cells turn to mush, he says. I don't need any advice. I know better than any other person. Well, he's wrong.
Order. The time has come for me to leave the chair. The committee is suspended. I shall resume the chair at 7:30.